Hello everyone, welcome back to I'll Read What She's Reading. I'm Reggie.
I'm Michaela.
And I'm Kennedy.
And today we're chatting about Ruthless Vows.
I almost said Divine Rivals.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
If you haven't read Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. That's right?
Yes.
Did I just second guess myself for a second? Go read Divine Rivals first and then read Ruthless Vows and then listen to this episode. Divine Rivals was actually our October?
I don't remember. October.
September?
Because October was the thriller one.
September. Anyways, one of our book club books at the end of last year, and we were very excited to read Ruthless Vows. It's a good duology, which I can appreciate a good duology because there's so many books out there with so many books in the series, and I love a good duology.
Yeah,
so we're
really
going to be chatting about our thoughts and feelings. If you didn't catch our Divine Rivals episode, you can go listen to that for our thoughts on Divine Rivals, but this will exclusively be all about Ruthless Vows. So what did you guys rate the book?
I rated it 4 stars.
Same.
I think same, yeah. Or maybe I did 4 point. No, I think I did 4. Let me go look. Michaela, let's hear your thoughts because I've talked to Kennedy about it briefly already.
I just felt like there's some lulls in the book. It wasn't a bad book. There was just some parts where I was like, okay, like you're losing me a little bit, and that's why I couldn't rate it a 5 stars, but it was still really good. Also like the ending, like the epilogue, is that what it was called? I was so confused. I had no idea. It was not necessary in my opinion, and I wish it was more based on Roman and Iris, like, you know, the future, or like, I don't know, and with kids, I don't know if they wanted kids, but I don't know, I just felt like I ended the book and I was like, huh?
Well, the ending with Roman and Iris was so perfect.
Yeah.
It should have just, I wish it would have ended there because the epilogue was from Enva's perspective, right?
Yeah.
I just did not, in my review, I said, like, I wish the epilogue wasn't a thing because it felt so pointless.
Yeah, it did.
It didn't add anything to the story, so.
Yeah.
My last thought, I wish he would have forgotten her longer.
Yeah, it felt a little quick.
It felt like, oh, I remember her. I wish they would have like run into each other somehow and he just had no idea who she was. I feel like that would have been like more heartbreaking than how it did go down. I mean, it was still really beautiful, and I loved the aspect of them like writing each other and her like saying E, and you know, I don't know. The roles kind of reversed from the first book where he knew who she was, but she didn't know who he was, you know? So I just wish that it was a little bit longer.
Yeah, I feel like the pacing of both of these books, it's just very... and I know maybe it is because it was a duology, and so, you know, you're trying to fit this whole story into 2 books. Like, in the first book, the one thing I didn't really like was the fact that I felt like their relationship moved forward, like, just so quickly. And I know a lot of it, we talked about this in that episode, was like, oh, well, there was a war, and, like, you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. So it was just, like, this quick thing. But I wanted it to feel a little more gradual. I don't know. And so with this book, I kind of felt like I was hoping it would have been a more gradual thing, like you were saying.
Yeah.
It felt a little, when all of a sudden he, like, remembered who she was, I was like, oh, that was quick.
Yeah.
So I was really interested to see where the rest of the book was going to go. I rated it 4.5, but the more I keep thinking about it, maybe I would rate it a 4. But finish your thoughts.
I don't know if I have any more thoughts.
Okay. Sorry.
You can keep going. Keep going, Reggie.
I really wanted to give this book 5 stars because there was so much I loved about this book. But there were just a few things, like, for example, okay, maybe before I start talking about this, we should confirm how you pronounce his name.
I think it's Dacre.
Dacre?
I think someone commented on one of our TikToks, and they said it's Acre with a D. I think it's Dacre.
Okay, we're gonna say Dacre, even though the whole time I was pronouncing it
Dacre.
I don't know why.
If we're mispronouncing it, don't come for us. There's no pronunciation guide. I don't know if Rebecca's came out and said how you pronounce it, but
yeah. And I mean, if you listen to the audiobook, you're gonna be like, it's obviously whatever. But fantasy books is kind of hard. You never know. You never know. So Dacre, I felt like I wanted more Roman and Iris and less Dacre and
Roman.
yeah, Dacre and Roman and Eva, because I understand that like the war is because of Dacre and Eva, but like I didn't like that I finished the book having so many more questions about like who is Eva, and like I don't know, I felt like they focused so much on the gods, but I still was left with so many questions. Like,
yeah,
she was such a mystery. And we've talked about people giving theories before, and there were a lot of theories I saw out there that like, oh, what if Marisol is actually Eva? And I didn't really like think about that while I was reading it, but I was expecting some sort of like, I don't know, I guess I was a little let down by the whole Eva thing. Maybe I just wasn't following it well enough, but I was kind of felt like I had a lot of answers, or I had a lot of questions that I needed answered as far as the whole thing with them. And I do feel like the ending was it was like so good and emotional, but also felt a little rushed and like underwhelming in a way. I couldn't decide how I felt about it. But I just lost my review. There was one other thing I was gonna say. Anyways, yeah, the Enva thing, I don't know why. I just kind of didn't feel satisfied with the ending with that in a way. But very, very beautifully written. Every time they would write letters to each other, it was like the most exciting thing when I could like see in the next page that there was like a typed letter. I got so excited, and I feel like there's just so many sweet things said between the two of them, and I'm obsessed with their relationship. Also sobbed like a baby when she found Forrest and Sarah.
Yep. I feel like I just like knew they were going to die.
The fact that they were wrapped around each other, like he was wrapped around her.
The way that was written.
It was so sweet. Well, I just feel like Forrest kind of disappeared for a while in the book.
You know, I was a little annoyed because he ripped her away from Roman, and then he literally didn't even have anything to do in the second book.
I know. He just like disappeared.
Yeah.
And I was like, is Roman not, more. I mean, is Forrest not worried about his sister?
Well, okay, wait, let me ask you this question. How long, it was only like the time frame from the end of Divine Rivals to Ruthless Vows, it was only like a week, wasn't it? It wasn't a super long jump, right?
I would say it was like a couple weeks.
I would say it's like a few weeks.
Okay. Because I'm like, he hasn't even had that much time with her to like be with her. I don't know. He was just gone.
I also wanted more of like Marisol and what's her bucket.
Where did they go? Like, it's
what
crazy.
Happened to them? Yeah.
It's crazy to me that Marisol was such a huge part of the first book, and then in this book, she didn't really have a part.
His name?
Keegan.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't she the one that became the
captain of the Enva's army general. Or whatever?
No, general. But didn't she also become like the new mayor?
Yeah.
Right?
When all of this like sad stuff was going on towards the end, I kept waiting for Marisol to show up, and I don't feel like she did.
Wasn't she?
Well, I mean, they were on the outskirts of town because the mayor wouldn't let them come in. But it was just interesting to me how she played such a pivotal role in the first book, and they had such a great relationship with her. And I'm sure the relationship still was great, but I just felt like I wanted more of her.
Yeah, it would have been sweet to have them like make a cameo in that like last chapter when it's like the flash forward.
Yeah, that
would have been sweet. But yeah, I will say I really like Dacre. Like, obviously he was the bad guy, but I loved getting to know him better. I just felt like it was a lot of him and Roman and not a lot of everything else.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry, I'm like circling back now with the whole Enva thing. I wanted to get to know And in a way, we kind of did. She just was so mysterious, and Dacre was not, because we got to know him so well.
I think that was kind of the point. I mean, I feel like maybe a lot of people didn't like it, but I think it was the point to make her mysterious. And maybe us know more about Dacre, because I don't know. I have like this thought, but I don't know how to put it into words. Like, almost he was putting himself out more than Emva was.
Oh, I can see
to like saying. Prove a point,
to prove that he was, quote, the better god. Yeah. He was there for the people, and she
Emva
wasn't.
Was being secretive, not necessarily on purpose, but because that's like the person she is. She didn't feel like she needed to prove anything, because she didn't want to be the better god, or like she just wanted the humans, is that what they called them, humans?
Yeah,
I can't remember, to like live a peaceful, happy life. And so I feel like she was trying her best to not get involved in it, and Dacre was doing everything in his power to get involved in it.
Well, and remember, she couldn't get involved because she had killed the other gods, taken their power.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Had she gone head to head with Dacre and died, he would have been this all-powerful god. And then if the humans would have killed him, there would have been no magic left at all for the humans.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was probably also a part of the reason why she wasn't, like, all up in everyone's grill. But
I will say, like, the whole thing with Iris and the dreams she was having, that was cool. That, like, Enva was appearing in her dreams as her mom.
Yeah, like, influencing her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was cool. All right, Kennedy, what are your thoughts?
I also rated it 4 stars. For me, the reason why it wasn't a 5-star book was mostly because what Michaela said, there were just lulls. And there were times where I wasn't dying to know what happened next. And so I would find myself, instead of reading, I'd play Call of Duty with my husband. Just being honest. And normally that's not how it is. He'll be playing Call of Duty and I'm like, I gotta know what's happening in my book. But
yeah,
it didn't really, not that I didn't care, but I wasn't dying to know what happened next. I briefly mentioned too, like, I just felt like Marisol was lacking, and so I just wish I would have seen more of her. Also really didn't love the epilogue, but another reason was I almost wanted more letters. Like, for me, the first book was so special because of the letters that they wrote back and forth. And it's funny because I can't remember if it was a Goodreads update or I put it in my review, but if your love language is words of affirmation, you will absolutely love this book. I just think the way that Iris and Roman write to each other and how they express their love for each other is so beautiful. And I feel like you don't get a lot of books that are like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just couldn't rate it 5 stars for mostly the reason the pacing was just a little off for me. Other than that, I'm sure I'll share more reasons why I rate it 4 stars or 5 stars as we discuss a little bit more. But beautifully written. And I also did cry when Roman remembered his sister. That was a really sweet moment to me too. And I was just like, he's having this memory of his sister and he doesn't know that she's dead yet.
Yeah,
it was heartbreaking. And I also think I wanted the way that the book, what is it called, like, not the description, but what is it called? Book description.
Yeah, like the
I can't think of it. The summary, whatever.
Synopsis?
Book synopsis. When I read it, I just thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be absolutely heartbroken this entire time. Yeah. I'm going to sob. And I just didn't feel like that emotional, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think at all today. It didn't feel like emotionally high stakes at any point. Like, I knew there was never any point at the beginning of the story where I'm like, Roman's not going to remember her, because he started remembering his sister right from the get-go. And I'm like, oh, he's going to remember Iris as well. So it just wasn't emotionally high stakes enough for me too.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you were talking, because you were saying you like wanted more letters, I remember in the first book, she never tells Roman that she loves him, even after they get married, remember? And
I think she mentions that in this book too.
But did she ever tell him she loves him in Ruthless Vows? Because I just Googled it. because I was like, I can't remember. Like they had to have said they loved each other, but I googled it. There's really not like anything out there, but someone left like a Goodreads review, and like when I Google it, it shows part of the review, but when I click on their actual review, it doesn't say it. But in this girl's review, she's saying that she still never told. There's never a point in there where she said I love you to him.
I don't think they ever had to explicitly say I love you because they did it.
Yeah, they said
in other words.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
but
I
love
just
you
thought
just
like
seemed
too simple for them.
Yeah, but I just remember her being so upset that she never said those words to him after he got taken away.
I don't know.
I just suddenly remember that. So now I'm like, I need to go figure that out. But
deep dive
if you guys remember.
I can't remember, to be honest.
I can't remember either.
But I will say the ways they did say I love you without saying I love you were so sweet.
Top notch.
It made me want to like go back and like read all of the letters I used to exchange with my husband when we were dating, because there's just something about a letter, man. That's so cute. Anyways, I was just curious if you guys caught on to that or if you knew, because
I can't
suddenly remembered.
I can't either.
But yeah, I wanted more letters too.
But I just think that was such a special part of the book, and I don't know, I just wanted more.
I will say the way they got the typewriters was not what I was expecting to go down.
She was a burglar. Which
she turned into this.
I mean, obviously Dacre had both the typewriters, but whatever happened to the other one? Did they
He
ever say?
Destroyed it.
Oh.
Yeah. He kept hers though.
I guess I was also a little bit confused because they talked about this multiple times. It was like whenever they changed locations with the typewriter, all of the previous correspondence would come through a wardrobe.
I don't know.
Because that to me was a little. I was a little confused about that. Seemed a little funky, but I mean, if Rebecca hadn't have put that in, how would one of, I can't remember his name, Dacre's guards gotten the correspondence and known that Roman was the mole? But that to me was a little bit confusing. So I don't know.
It was a little confusing to me too, because I feel like at one moment a letter like came through and I can't remember who received the letter, but they didn't have like the typewriter with them.
Was it when Roman first? Oh. Was it the first one Roman got?
No. It was like I don't know. There was at one point where I was like really confused how someone had received a letter. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I don't remember the exact moment, but I was like, wait, but they don't have the typewriter with them.
I think it's like as long as there's a wardrobe
in the typewriter in the same house. That's just, I'm like, every time it almost felt like every time it changed locations, all the past correspondence would come. But then in that sense, not me picking apart this book, because I do love this book, wouldn't all the old correspondence with their grandparents also have came through, like with their grandmas? You know, that just kind of confused me a little.
I also was confused how the third typewriter
never got
a letter.
Maybe there wasn't.
And then all of a sudden, I don't know, it just like changed.
Maybe there wasn't a wardrobe somewhere in the.
I think what happened was Roman's typewriter was downstairs in the kitchen, and he still received a letter in his wardrobe. I guess maybe, I don't know, I guess it's just a wardrobe has to be in play.
Maybe.
I don't know. I think that's the point where I was like, but isn't your typewriter downstairs and you can't
But then wasn't there a time when a letter came, maybe they weren't in Marisol's house, where a letter came through and he had to put his foot on it so that Dacre didn't see?
Yeah, I thought it was in his room though.
It was,
and it was in the wardrobe.
Oh, so they were in his room.
They were in his room.
I don't know why I was picturing it in the kitchen.
There was lots of kitchen scenes.
I will say Roman was a smart man.
He was.
I kept being like, he's gonna mess this up, but he just was trusting his gut.
My heart dropped to the bottom of my butt when Dacre found out. I literally was like Like, it just, like, absolutely, I was like, I would have
there were so many
my
like
pants.
Yeah, I will say, like, the first half of the book was a lot more entertaining for me to read, I think.
That's so funny, because I was going to say I think the last half was more entertaining for me.
I just felt like, because I was just like, what's going to happen? The whole Roman not remembering Iris, and then when he remembers her, and then he's like, I have to go back. I was, like, on the edge of my seat. And then there was, like, this little lull for a while, and then there was the end, and I was still, I don't know.
Because I was going to say, I feel like the book really picked up for me once they all were in, like, what's the town? The main city. Once they all were in the main city, like, Dacre was stationed in Roman's parents' house, that's when I was like, oh, this is going to get real.
Mm-hmm. And, like, when she didn't burn the letter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah.
And when they met up through the bushes.
Or when he saw her. She was in the closet. My heart.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I really liked their little scene in the
shower.
Oh, not that one. I was gonna say when they're at the office.
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
I thought the bomb was gonna go off soon.
Yeah, like
it was the night before.
I thought they would be more cautious in a way, because
they threw caution to the wind.
Was kind of following him, but I was like, you go, dude. I just thought everything was so sweet. I do still feel like I finished that book and I was still sad for Roman, though, with this whole condition.
Yeah.
Like, that would seriously suck.
But also, I really appreciated how it wasn't like, oh, he's cured, they're happy together, everybody's happy. Yeah. It was like, okay, well, Forrest died and he's still sick and the city's rebuilding. I really appreciated that, because sometimes it's like, you're telling me this whole war happened and now everybody's just fine.
Yeah.
So I did appreciate that.
Her throwing herself literally in front of a gun.
Oh.
I literally thought she got shot for a second. I was like, oh, she's going to die. I was about to sob. Yeah. I was like, no, she can't die.
See, that's a good point. Like, when you say they never said, maybe they didn't say I love you, but like all of their love declarations and their actions showed so much more that they loved each other than, like, not that I love you simple, but like that's way more complex.
I feel like I don't know, maybe they did say it. I just feel like it would have been weird to see I love you typed out from them, because their words are just so beautiful, and you just eat up every single word. I feel like if I love you was in it, it wouldn't fit in with like the words they speak to each other, you know? I don't know. But I love you is
respect for that, though.
It is such an important word, and I feel like everyone's always like, I love you is just so important to like say to your partner for the first time. But I feel like in these two's relationship, those just like, it just didn't even.
Yeah. It makes me want to be like more
eloquent.
Yeah. I think of how many times I tell my husband I love him in a day, and it's like a lot. But I'm like, I could tell him I love him in a lot of different ways, and just like, good night, I love you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So sometimes other ways.
You are my moon and stars.
I'm just gonna like pull up my phone of all of the quotes.
My husband would be like, is something wrong with you?
But also it just fits. I don't, because in my head, I don't know if it's the same for you guys, this is in the past. It's not, you know how most fantasy books, it's kind of like in the future, whatever. For me, this is in the past, and the way that they wrote to each other was just how people spoke back then in the past. That's true. Nowadays,
it's like, how you doing, bae?
Yeah.
I thought you were to say something else.
It's just different, you know? So I don't know.
Yeah, what's up?
What's up, boo?
We chilling tonight?
Like, even though I was like slightly let down by this book, I still loved it so much. I will recommend this duology to literally everyone.
Same.
The first Divine Rivals book, it's got to be, it's hard to say like where I would place it in my top reads from last year, but I enjoyed reading that so much.
Well, and I had a visceral reaction to the end.
Oh yeah.
It was, yeah. What were you gonna say, Michaela?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I think 3.5 stars and up is still like a good read.
Oh yeah,
for
100%.
I don't think if someone rates a book 4 stars that it means someone didn't like it.
Yeah, no.
Or I think 4 stars is still really good, like, rating, and I think this book deserves all the rave, especially the duology, like Reggie was saying, because it's just so good. And I feel like it's very different from what's popular on Book Talk and stuff like that. Which I think is just so refreshing to read something that has a little bit of mix of historical fiction and then some like fantasy aspects.
Yeah. We talked about in the Divine Rivals episode how a lot of people were comparing Fourth Wing to Divine Rivals. And it's just one of those, the way this book was written, you can't compare it to anything else. Like, I love that it really stands on its own. I think I said this in my review. It was very beautiful, but it's also just a very enchanting
It's like a cozy
story.
fantasy,
like,
almost.
Yeah.
Like a cozy fantasy historical fiction. And I think sometimes it's funny because as the new years came along, I feel like I've seen on TikTok a lot of people talking about, someone commented on one of our TikToks and was like, I want more books, less tropes, more plot. And I do feel like this book has a really good plot, and there's genuinely not a lot of like popular tropes in this book. I mean, there's not a like knife to the throat scene. There's no, he uses her name for the first time. One of them's injured. Like, there's not a lot of, it's not trope heavy.
Yeah.
No. He calls her Winnow a lot.
Yeah.
And does he use Iris a lot either? I think he doesn't use Iris very much. So it's like, I don't know, I just feel like you don't have to label this as anything that has tropes because it doesn't need it.
No.
Yeah.
It doesn't need it. I don't know. It was just so good. I'm just obsessed with those two.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see what Rebecca Ross writes next.
Well,
I haven't read.
she has another duology out.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I really love her writing. I think for me, with every book, there's a time and a place. I have to be in the mood to read most books. And I think I would have to be in the mood to read something beautifully written and feel really emotional. It's funny because I think I've talked about different authors and how they write emotions super well. And I think Rebecca Ross genuinely writes very well, like emotions very well. But I will definitely read more books from her in the future because they're great.
Yeah. She writes very beautifully, and I wish I could write like her. Not that I'm a writer, but if I was, I want to be Rebecca Ross.
Let's talk about how Iris just like kills Dacre.
Oh yeah.
I was just so impressed with her. I was like, way to go, girl. I was like, major slay, girl.
Well, and how about, what is her friend?
Addie
just being like, I'm gonna go down there, play my violin. These girls were so brave,
and their Addie's family was so trusting in her and so proud of her. I'm like, if I was telling my mom like, hey, I'm gonna go do this thing, I'll be right back, my mom would be like,
no, you're not.
No, you're not doing that. Like, I thought her family was so cool and so sweet.
The fact that they're the only two that are willing to do what it takes. Out of all these people in this city, it's these two girls.
Yeah, I loved her friend Addie.
Yeah.
Also,
and her
Addie and Tobias, right?
Oh, I knew from the beginning.
I
like each other.
I needed more.
I was giggling. I was like, they're just so cutie. Mm-hmm. I just love an outside perspective of seeing like two people flirt a little bit, and so we were getting like Iris's perspective, seeing them two together, and I was like, this is so cute.
Yeah, like when she's like, oh, I'll take you to work or something, she's like, oh, I already have a ride. I was like, I love that for her.
Or him with all of her siblings, taking them to school.
Ugh, so cute. We love that man.
Yeah, like a little
novella
of them.
I know.
Or like a little novella of him racing cars or whatever.
I know.
I would honestly,
a car racer.
I mean, I hate saying this about books I love, but it would be so fun to see this as like a series or something, because I felt like I could see a lot of things in this book so clearly, like the scene where the creature things are chasing them.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they were in the car. I was just like on the edge of my seat.
Oh, the hellhounds.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
The dogs.
Yeah,
chasing them in the
car. And he's like, "Hold on, I got this."
I'm like going around in the car.
Yeah, it was so fun. I was just a big fan. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
I feel like we share like a lot of faves and leaves faves in conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Any specific favorites that we didn't already mention that you guys want to share?
I guess I'm a big sucker for like reunions.
Mm-hmm.
And so every time, I don't know, honestly, every time they could conversate,
Mm-hmm.
I was just eating it up. I wanted it literally the entire time. I probably still would have rated the book really high if literally the entire book was just them writing back and forth to each other.
Seriously. I really loved the scene. Well, I'm only saying there were scenes I loved more, but I'm only saying this because we haven't talked about it yet. The scene where they meet up in person for the first time. Well, no, after he sees her in the closet.
Yeah.
At the coffee shop.
Yeah.
And it was just so cool to watch them. He didn't even have to say anything, and she immediately knew he's pretending to be the old Roman when we worked together. Mm-hmm. She just knew. I just thought that was so cool.
Could not imagine. I don't know, the acting that they kind of had to do.
Yeah. No, it's when they're in the room and Daiquiri's like, you have to write for me. And she's like, does Roman have to make you put your hands on that? And she afterwards was like, if you would have touched me, I would have broke. And I was like, ugh, melting. Yeah. I was like, oh, I probably would have too. If I was thinking about it, if me and my husband were in those roles, I'm a terrible actor anyways, so I would have been like, honey, you gonna do something about this? Yeah, it was just good. Sorry, that just reminded me. There's so many little moments that just like melt your heart.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Continue.
No, it's done. That was perfect.
Him writing the story and her like
reading the page.
Yeah.
That was so cute.
I just feel like everything between them two. I just can't get enough. I think it would be such a good like movie and TV show.
I feel like people would love it. Like for some reason I can just picture it being like one of those movies that critics absolutely love because it's so different, but at the same time there's a lot of opportunities for it to be like artsy, you know what I mean?
Cinematic. Yeah. Maybe we should do it. Let's just become directors.
Let's just make our own little thing. Well, what is that YouTube called that does the Avatar?
Yeah.
The
little YouTube
we just need to do a fan made movie.
Yeah.
I'm sure
I mean, Reggie is a videographer, so it's not that far off.
Action.
And she's really good at it. I feel like we really could. Well, it's gonna bug me if I can't figure out this name. I still haven't finished it.
We would never do it justice, but
54.
I really would love to see it. I just feel like it's such a magical story, and I love it.
Oh, it's Whimsy
Gossip Podcast does it. Yeah.
And they play the characters.
I couldn't do any of them justice, so
let's just call Harry Styles up and be like, hey.
He would be such a good Roman.
It was really hard for me. Okay, so when we did our Divine Rivals episode, we each had a pick for Roman, and you guys, the whole time I was reading this book, I kept switching between the three that we picked.
I actually can't remember which one I picked.
You picked Tom Holland, I picked Timothy Chalamet, and you picked Harry Styles.
They all would be good. Tom Holland. I love him.
Would be so good. Tom would be so good.
Oh, I love Tom. Who did we pick
for Iris? I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
I don't feel like we picked anyone for her.
I'm just obsessed with Roman.
Honestly,
Why did I not pick him as my best book boyfriend?
Probably because there's no spicy scenes, really.
But he's so sweet and tender and loving. And just has his way with words.
Imagine if you just came home from work and your husband had wrote this, like, beautifully written letter to you about how much he loves you and appreciates you.
Put that on the TikTok and get on my husband's For You page. Just kidding. He doesn't really scroll on TikTok. Any least faves? I feel like we've already kind of talked about least. I'm trying to think if there's
honestly, I think my whole least favorite part of the book was the epilogue. Genuinely, because it just, for me, it really felt out of place.
I feel like I need to read it again to see if I can like grasp something I missed, but
I don't know. I can't really think.
I will say this maybe isn't a least fave, but I did find it odd. Because I just don't feel like this is how things are normally done. Obviously, it's a fantasy book, but like the fact that Roman was attached to Dacre's hip the whole time, I was like, typically you have some sort of correspondent that corresponds with the course, like, you know what I mean?
Like someone Dacre trusts more, because I feel like all of a sudden he just like trusted him like a lot for being someone who
you think he would have had like someone under him that would relay everything over. I thought that was interesting, especially when he knew that his memory could come back. I was kind of like, why is he being like so trusting? Also, we didn't mention this at all, but like the whole thing with the Kit family with his dad.
Oh,
so was he part of that movement, like
the bombing?
Yeah,
that
he was a part of the people that were trying to actually kill him, right?
Yeah, but he still got committed to prison.
He was helping with all the chemicals. So.
I guess he was playing a double agent, but they also weren't. Yeah, he caused more harm than good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was odd too that like Dacre just all of a sudden was like, "I trust you." The amount of times he was like, "Someone has betrayed me," and I'm like, "Well, no, duh."
How about that scene where Dacre was gonna kill the guy, and Roman talked him out of it?
Yeah, that's true. He just has such a way with words. Yeah. And he's like, "You don't want to do that."
And let me tell you why.
Let me tell you.
Very convincing. I also, this is not like a fave or least fave moment, but just when they had him tied up in the thing, and he was just like
in the below.
Yes.
With all the bones.
It was so sad.
I was so angry at the guy for betraying him.
Yeah.
I thought that he was going to be good. You know, because there was those little hints like, I'm from where you're from. Like, you'll get your memories back.
Mm-hmm.
And then he betrayed him.
Well, and he was like, it was necessary. Because he was like, me or you. And I chose me. Anyways, we just really liked this, and obviously we all rated it a little lower. So, I mean, I'm speaking for you guys, but we liked the first book better. But this was still a good book, and I'm just so glad it was a duology. And there's not like another book we're waiting for.
Too.
Yeah,
like,
me too.
There was some aspect, I can't figure out what, that felt a little underwhelming in a way. But I'm still very happy with how things like ended, and I really like it. I can see myself reading these books again for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me too.
In the future. I also just feel bad for like towards the end when Iris was just kind of by herself. Like other people were there, but she was just. Roman was in the hospital and he couldn't leave yet.
That was bizarre to me. I'm like,
they wouldn't let her see him.
Yeah, I thought it was weird too. I think maybe that might be my least favorite part of the book, not including the epilogue. I was just so frustrated. Like they're married.
Was it because he technically was on Dacre's side? Is that why? Like he was almost arrested. You know what I mean? I think that might have been what it was. But still.
But then he got released. And then after he got released is when...
Because he didn't know if she was... I don't know.
But
yeah, I was like screaming when the nurse is like, sorry, you need a rest for a few more days. I'm like, at least give him his typewriter or something. Like,
yeah.
Where's the typewriter?
Oh, it was so good.
Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts you guys have? I mean, normally we end with a fan cast, but
we've already done that.
I think we did that in Divine Rivals, and I don't really have anyone to add.
Me neither.
I will say there was a guy I was picturing for Dacre, but I don't know how I would even figure out who he is and I couldn't think of what I've seen him in to tell you, but I pictured someone the entire time.
Does he have blonde hair? Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You want to know why we probably call him Dacre instead of Dacre?
What?
Because of Dacre Montgomery.
Oh.
Doesn't he spell his name the same?
Probably.
I think so.
Yeah.
What if it is Dacre?
Well,
you know, it's way. Okay. We're trying. Tomato. Yeah. It's all right.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We hope that you enjoyed this duology as much as we did or more. Definitely excited to see what else Rebecca Ross comes out with. I really want to get her on the podcast somehow. Someday in our dreams. Thanks so much for tuning in. And I think that's all I really have to say. So I hope you guys are doing well. We'll see you next Wednesday. Love you so much. Goodbye.
Bye.